This case is not about a city stalker or a prison break. It is about a void. It is about an all-consuming, terrifying wrongness that swallowed 9 people in the frozen wilderness. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. In the winter of 1959, in the remote, snow-choked Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, a group of 10 hikers set out. They weren't amateurs. They were all, save for one, graduate students and engineers, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. They were expert-level skiers and mountaineers, setting off on a trek that was difficult, but well within their abilities. One member, Yuri Yudin, was forced to turn back early due to illness. He said goodbye to his 9 friends, little knowing he would be the only one to survive. The remaining 9, 7 men and 2 women, continued. Their goal was Otorten Mountain. On February 1st, they were forced to set up camp on the slopes of a different mountain, Kholat Syakhl, which translates from the local Mansi language as Dead Mountain. They were scheduled to send a telegram to their sports club on February 12th. The telegram never came. At first, there was no panic. Delays in such expeditions were common. But as the days turned into weeks, a search party was assembled. On February 26th, the searchers found the group's abandoned campsite. And what they found was the beginning of an impossible mystery. The tent was half buried in snow, but that wasn't the strange part. The tent had been violently sliced open, and the slashes, investigators determined, had been made from the inside. In the tent, all the group's belongings, their winter clothing, their boots, their food, their money, were left behind. In the snow, the searchers found footprints, 9 sets of footprints leading away from the tent and down the slope towards a nearby forest. The footprints were erratic, as if the group was walking, not running, and they were made by people who were barefoot or wearing only socks or a single shoe. 9 expert hikers had cut their way out of their only shelter and walked away half-dressed into the minus 30 degrees Celsius, minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit night. The first bodies were found over a kilometer away under a large ancient pine tree. They were the bodies of Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko. They were dressed only in their underwear. Their hands were burned, and they were lying next to the remains of a small, desperate fire. The branches on the pine tree above them were broken, suggesting one of them had tried to climb it, perhaps to look for the tent, or to escape from something. 3 more bodies, including Igor Dyatlov's, were found between the pine tree and the camp. Their positions suggested they had been desperately trying to crawl back to the tent. They too were poorly dressed and had died of hypothermia. Those 5 deaths were tragic, but understandable given the cold. It was the last 4, found 2 months later, that made the case a legend. They were discovered in a ravine buried under 4 meters of snow. These 4 were dressed better than the others. In fact, they were wearing the clothes of those who had died first. One man was wearing a woman's hat and coat. A woman's foot was wrapped in a piece of a man's torn trousers. But it wasn't the clothes. It was the injuries. Unlike the first 5, these 4 had not died of cold. Nikolai Thibault Brignoles had suffered a massive, crushing skull fracture. Alexander Zolotarov had his rib shattered on his right side. Ludmila Dubanina, one of the women, had her rib shattered on both sides, as if she had been crushed in a giant vice. The coroner stated the force required to inflict these injuries was equal to the force of a car crash. And yet, the bodies had no external wounds, no bruising, no soft tissue damage. They were crushed from the inside. And then was the final,
horrifying detail. Ludmila Dubinina was found missing her tongue. The investigation was baffled. What could make 9 experienced hikers in a state of terror cut their way out of their only shelter? Why would they run barefoot into the lethal cold? What compelling natural force could crush their bones like a car crash but leave no mark on their skin? And what happened to Ludmila's tongue? There were other strange, unconfirmed reports, strange orange spheres seen in the sky that night by other people in the region, a report that the hiker's skin had a strange tan, traces of radiation found on their clothes. The official Soviet investigation was closed after just 3 months. The files were sealed, and the cause of death was officially and cryptically listed as a compelling natural force that the hikers were unable to overcome. The pass where they died was named in their honor Dyatlov Pass. The mystery of what that force was, an avalanche, a military weapons test, infrasound-induced panic, or something else, has never been solved.